Hey guys, this is NCS Fan 001 here for another one of those Fallout cookbook recipe videos. So in today's video, we're going to be making another definite Fallout staple, Instamash, aka mashed potatoes. With its real dig-in flavor, Instamash is a favorite of vault dwellers everywhere. Here you'll find our best imitation recipe. It's quick to make, but it's not true Instamash. This recipe will give us +1 strength for an hour. It is easy difficulty with 15 minutes of prep and 30 minutes of cooking. It serves up to 5 people and pairs well with the Captain's Feast on page 107. I think I saw that one, and that one actually looks really good. The recipe requires 1 1/3 pounds of russet potatoes that have been peeled and quartered, a bay leaf, a rosemary sprig, a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, a 1/4 cup of sour cream, a 1/2 cup of crumbled blue cheese, a teaspoon of fresh parsley that has been minced and measured, as well as additional salt and pepper. It says that this author does not often include the blue cheese in their recipe, but it reminds them of Instamash's white and blue box. So anyway, for this recipe, I've actually modified it just a bit. So for my version of the recipe, I'm not going to use the sour cream or the blue cheese because I'm not a fan of either. I know I don't like blue cheese. I can deal with like a drop or two of sour cream and something, but not like a 1/2 cup or a 1/4 cup of it. So I'm going to be replacing those ingredients with some Kraft cheddar cheese and some bacon. So that should make it even better, at least for me. So the first step is to combine the potatoes, or put them into a pot of water. We're going to put this on the stove in a minute. I've got the stove currently heating up. So along with that, we need to use 1 bay leaf, which these were actually pretty easy to find, surprisingly. That one's in half. Let's see if we can get a full one out of here. There we go. 1 bay leaf. The rosemary sprig, now I couldn't find straight up sprigs, but I have this organic rosemary, so I feel like this is probably going to be okay if I just use a little bit of it, and I know that I can filter it out in the end. I mean, at the very least, it'll just add extra flavor, so I can't imagine it's going to be that big of an issue. And then we just need a teaspoon of salt. I'm using my salt and pepper shakers from the Fallout Loot Crate, because they work great. I use them every morning for my eggs. Ooh, it looks like I didn't have enough salt in that. Back in just a moment. Alright, now we have a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to need to refill this after the video or during the break in it. So we combine all of those into our pot and then put it on the stove. So our next step is to bring this water up to a boil, and then once it is brought up to a boil over high heat, we reduce the heat to medium and simmer for 15 to 20 minutes or until the potatoes are at least tender. So this is what it all looks like in there together. Naturally, if you're going to make mashed potatoes, obviously you don't need to add all the extra seasonings. Just take some potatoes and put them in a pot like this to get them nice and tender, and then mash them up, and that's really all you need. They're pretty easy to make. It's a pretty simple meal, although I didn't actually have a potato peeler with me. So I'll be back when it's boiling, whenever that ends up being. Okay everyone, it is now at a boil, so I'm going to just move it around a little bit. I actually pulled out a little bit of the water using my measuring cup, just didn't want it to risk overflowing or anything, because that's never good. So the next thing we need to do is reduce the heat to medium, and once it's at medium, we simmer for 15 to 20 minutes, or at least until the potatoes are done, or tender at least. So I will be back with you guys in about 20 minutes. Alright guys, so it's been about 20 minutes, and I can actually crush up the potatoes pretty easily. They've gotten pretty tender, so that's all a good thing. So our next step is to drain the water, remove the bay leaf and rosemary sprig, then place the pot back on the stove over low heat. At that point, we add the butter and the other ingredient. Well, the butter and the sour cream. If you were going to be using sour cream, I'm just using the butter for that particular step, so I'll be back in a moment. Alright guys, we've got our potatoes. There's a little bit of rosemary still in there, but honestly I can't imagine it's going to be that bad for us. So at this point, like I said before, if it'll stop sizzling, is that drop the temperature a little bit more. So now we add the butter and mash the potatoes until smooth. So it says a specific amount of butter, a quarter cup of unsalted butter. Frankly, I'm just going to throw in like part of a stick of it and just see what happens. Because butter makes everything better, and in the South we cook everything with a lot of butter. So we're just going to throw in a bunch of butter and see what happens. We can always add more, remove some if we need to. No big deal. I don't think anyone complains when they get more butter. And I don't actually have like a potato masher, so I'm using my zester at the moment. I'll probably go grab something better out of the cabinet though, because this is dumb. Yeah, I'm going to do that because that just makes me look like really bad at this. Not saying I'm good at it, but you know what I mean. I don't have an actual masher, like I said. I need to actually pick that up, but I do have a spaghetti stirrer that should work pretty well. It's about the right shape and such. This is going to be good. Like, these look good. I mean, it's pretty hard to screw up mashed potatoes, in all honesty. That's a very easy meal to make. It's fairly cheap. It's very easy. It's very versatile. And this one potato is actually going to make a better serving size, too, because it said 1 1/3 pounds in the recipe, which is a bit. So, at least a bit for, you know, one person, obviously. It's meant to be 4 to 5 people. Okay, that looks a lot like mashed potatoes. It should, because it's mashed potatoes. So our next, or really our final steps, are to add the blue cheese and parsley and then stir to combine them. So I'm going to be using about half a cup of cheddar cheese, because cheese makes everything better, as does butter. And then approximately a teaspoon of minced parsley. So I guess you can eat this, so I guess it's fine just to go ahead and straight up eat it. So we're going to throw that in. It looks like chives, actually. I wonder if it's similar. So the last thing I'm going to do now is I am going to cook the bacon in the microwave real quick and then throw that in with the rest of this. Alright guys, the bacon has been cooked, so I'm going to get it ground down into real little pieces. I'm sort of surprised this wouldn't be in the recipe with all the other stuff like the sour cream. Given that it has sour cream and blue cheese in it, you would think that having bacon in it would also be a common thing. I feel like there's something else that's missing that's common in mashed potatoes that I'm forgetting, but who knows. I'm going to have a bit of cleanup to do after this on my stove itself. And now I gotta say guys, that looks like some pretty solid mashed potatoes, so could be eating only that for dinner, but I've got some meat to go with my potatoes that I'm going to cook now. So once that's done cooking, we will be able to try out the mashed potatoes, or the instant mash, so I'll see you guys in a little while. Alright guys, this here is our mashed potatoes. Let that hopefully show up well for you guys. It looks really, really good, so actually really excited to try it. Made it with some sirloin that I got from the grocery store for relatively cheap. Buffalo usually has good prices on like steaks and stuff. Maybe not as good as Kroger, but still pretty good. Alright guys, let's give this a try. First let's take a piece of the steak. Oh, it actually cooked properly. It came out solid medium to slightly medium rare. That's how I like it. Pretty good. It's just sirloin seasoned with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and a little bit of cayenne. So that's always good. It came out pretty well. So what about the mashed potatoes? That's really, really good. Tastes like mashed potatoes should, but it's very good. It's real creamy. This has a great taste to it. Would highly recommend this recipe. I do wonder how much different it would taste if you put blue cheese and sour cream in it rather than cheddar and bacon. But I really like the way this came out. This is a definite recommendation. It's not too hard to make, but it takes some time because you have to get the potatoes mashed down. But overall, this was definitely a successful recipe. So would highly recommend this one. That cayenne got to me a little bit there. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you for the next one.